think that's the wrong slide.
Actually, goals for the year ahead. We hope today's conversation will be thought-provoking, educational, and will leave you with some practical strategies to plan for the holidays and set financial goals for 2019. NCADV is honored to partner with the National Endowment for Financial Education, NEFI, to provide this fifth installment in a series of 6 free webinars intended to raise awareness, increase skills and knowledge related to personal finance, and to guide attendees to helpful resources. Before we start, I invite you to please take a moment to locate the questions box on your control panel. You can see the screenshot for more information on how to locate it. Due to the number of people on the webinar, it's possible that we won't get to all questions, but we will be sure to cover as many as we can throughout. That said, the webinar is full of opportunities to engage, answer questions, and reflect on today's topic. We encourage you to actively participate throughout the webinar. In order to respond to any of the interactive activities, type your response in the questions box. It's the same box that you all are using to introduce yourself. Also, a quick reminder that a copy of the PowerPoint, a certificate of participation, as well as several handouts on today's topic can be found in your control panel under handouts. A reminder that this webinar is being recorded. We will send that recording to you along with all the handouts in a follow-up email that will come out 24 hours after this session ends. Also, at the end of the session, we have a quick 5-question survey for you all to fill out. Let's begin by introducing today's webinar speakers. My name is Sheba McCants, and I'm the Outreach Director for NCADV. And today I'm joined by Jeanette Schultz, Director of Financial Workshop Initiatives for NEFI. All right, are you ready to get interactive? So before we begin today's webinar, we have a series of polls that we'd like for you all to take in order to help us get to know you, today's webinar audience. All right, so here is our first poll. Who is participating today? Take a look at the choices and you are able to select multiple answers. Are you a domestic violence or sexual assault advocate, a family advocate, a shelter advocate, or a legal advocate? Are you a victim or survivor? Are you part of the law enforcement or legal community? Are you a case manager or counselor? And if you do not see your job title or your job description up there, go ahead and type that into the questions box if you identify as another job description. Type that in, tell us who you are. Let's get a few more votes in. We like to see a good amount of participation throughout the webinar. And this is just our first opportunity to do that. All right, that looks like where we're gonna be. We can close that out. All right, according to the poll, 84% of you have identified that you're either a domestic violence or sexual assault advocate, 18% are case managers or counselors, 11% identify as victims or survivors, 3% from the law enforcement and legal communities, and then I'll read a couple of the job descriptions that people have typed in. We have a financial educator and coach, that's fantastic, a financial programs manager, a scholarship program coordinator, and also a case manager for transitional housing. Thank you all so much. Let's go ahead on to our next poll. Where are you located? Are you tuning in today from the West Coast, Alaska, or Hawaii? From the East Coast? From the Midwest? How about our southern states in Puerto Rico? And the mountain region? Let's see some more results coming in. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and close that one out. Our poll results show that 44% of today's webinar audience is tuning in from the East Coast, 22% from the southern states and Puerto Rico, 15% from the Midwest, 11% from the West Coast, Alaska and Hawaii, and 8% from the mountain region. All right, let's go to our third poll. What is your racial or ethnic identity? And you can select all that apply. Do you identify as Asian or Pacific Islander, American Indian or Alaskan Native, Black, African, African American or Caribbean, Hispanic or Latinx, or white or Caucasian? Go ahead and select all that apply. All right, that looks good. We'll close that out. Excellent participation. Thank you. According to the poll, 58% of our webinar audience has identified as white or Caucasian, 27% as Hispanic or Latinx, 20% Black, African, African American, Caribbean, 6% American Indian or Alaskan Native, and 4% Asian or Pacific Islander. Thank you. The next poll question. How would you define your community type? Are you joining us today from an urban community, a suburban community, or a rural community? All right, that looks pretty good. We can close that out. 40% of today's webinar audience is tuning in from a rural community, 38% from an urban community, and 22% from a suburban community. Thank you for that. All right, let's move on to our final poll for today. The final question is this information for you or for those you serve? Here are the options. For me, I want to learn more about spending and savings. For those I serve, I have clients who need this information, or both. All right, that looks good. We'll go ahead and close that out. According to the poll, 60% of today's webinar attendees have identified that this information is for both those they serve as well as for them personally. And I will say that really is the way that this webinar series is designed, is to not only serve you, but also help you serve the clients that you work with and be a better advocate. So thank you so much for all of your responses. And this is really helpful feedback, and we appreciate knowing who is in the room, quote unquote, with us today.
Let's take a moment to go through today's agenda, planning for the holidays and setting financial goals for the year ahead. We know your time is incredibly valuable, and we want to be sure you're getting what you came for. So we want to be very clear about what you can expect to learn from today's session. We have 3 specific outcomes that we will cover during today's webinar. Each section will have opportunities for you to learn, reflect, and interact. The 3 agenda items for today's webinars include, number 1, what are some smart spending tips for a debt-free holiday? 2, what are your financial New Year's resolution and how do you achieve them? And 3, what are my financial stability goals for the upcoming year and how do I plan for them?
All right, so I will go ahead and I'll kind of break down the 3 key areas that we'll touch on today. So the first one, we're going to talk about tips for a debt-free holiday. We will go into detail about steps that you can take to have a debt-free holiday this year. We'll touch on how you can control your holiday spending, and we'll also address what are some of the hidden holiday costs. So some of the things that we may not think of as upcoming expenses, but that do inevitably come up during the holidays. In our second section, we will focus on your financial New Year's resolutions. So as you approach 2019, what are your financial New Year's resolutions to change your money habits? And what can you do to make those goals stick? We'll give you some tips for how to make that happen. And then further, talking about goals for the upcoming year and planning for the upcoming year. We'll be addressing goal setting, and we'll be providing some resources that will help you make your goals sustainable. And we will also touch on some resources in terms of how and what types of support you might need in order to stick to your goals for the upcoming year. All right, so our first question for the audience, and this is a reflection question. So which of the three key areas do you want to learn more about, or do you think about most often? So again, those choices are tips for a debt-free holiday, your financial New Year's resolutions, or setting goals for the upcoming year. Go ahead and type into the questions box. Which one of those three key areas do you want to learn more about, or do you think about most often? Go ahead and type your answer into the questions box. All right, I'm already seeing a couple people saying that they'd like to learn more about setting goals for the upcoming year. Some people are saying all three. Some people would like some tips for a debt-free holiday, and then also the financial New Year's resolutions. So yeah, I think people are a little bit spread out all across the board, and that's good to see because we will be touching on all of those today. All right, great. Let's go ahead and move on.
What are steps you can take for a debt-free holiday? This is the first item on the agenda for us to cover during today's session. Very soon, all over the U.S., if not this week, you'll see festive seasonal displays. Carols will be on the loop over the loudspeaker, and giant signs will be boasting stellar deals. Festive holiday ads and store promos will have you believe that this is the best time to score shopping deals. In some cases, that's true, but many retailers count on deep discounts on specific products to hook shoppers who will also buy higher profit items. Unplanned purchases and impulse buys during the holidays aren't always bad, just as long as you keep your budget in check and try to save extras for last. But many Americans, including me, I admit, shop without a plan, making them vulnerable to holiday deals and sale signs that could get the best of them. Let's take this first opportunity of today's session to reflect on the upcoming holidays. Take a moment to type out some thoughts on what you think could be done to have a debt-free holiday this year. Have you begun planning your holiday budget, and how can you avoid overspending? Some answers could be having a potluck in your neighborhood, or sharing babysitting duties, or let's see what others are saying. Saving money all year long for the holidays and buy a little at a time. That's a great idea. Setting price limits with family members. Perfect. Maybe have a white elephant. Picking names at Thanksgiving weekend. Shop sale items early. Creating a list and price limits. And personalized, but it's cheaper than manufacturer gifts. Great. Thank you for that. Here are 8 smart spending tips for a debt-free holiday. Number 1, set a budget and stick to it. Number 2, budget for hidden expenses. 3rd, find the right price. 4, avoid impulse shopping. 5, self-gifting. I'm really guilty of this. 6, go in on a gift. I have to share that even though it wasn't Christmas, one of my favorite wedding gifts was 5 interns came together and put together a gift and bought us a bar. And I thought that was the most amazing gift that they all went in for. So I always think about that when you go in for a gift. 7, set up a gift exchange. And last, give a priceless gift. Sheba.
All right, thank you, Jeanette. So Jeanette told you what are the 8 tips for a debt-free holiday, but I'm going to go ahead and break those down a little bit further. Also, I will let you know this is our first sort of learning section. So, there will be other interactive and opportunities for you to reflect and interact, but this is our first learning chunk. So for the first one, set a budget and stick to it. Your holiday budget should look like any other good budget by looking at how much you have left after paying for your essentials. Thinking about how much can you reasonably spend without getting into trouble. You can take a look at your monthly expenses and set a holiday spending amount that won't put a strain on your wallet. From there, make a list of gifts you need and set a reasonable amount for each person based on your spending limit. And we will be sharing some additional resources from NEFI in terms of how to create a budget in just a few minutes. The second tip, budget for hidden expenses. This one was interesting to me. I'd never thought about, how the expenses for wrapping paper, things like wrapping paper, shipping costs, holiday travel, or even a higher electric bill for, all your Christmas lights and things like that. And thinking about how those unexpected expenses can add up quickly. So when you are doing your accounting for your holiday budget, make sure to account for those extra costs. The third tip, find the right price and do your research. So make sure you know when the best deals will be. If a big ticket electronics item is on your list, make sure that you check prices online before heading to the store. Some retailers offer coupons and special deals on their websites. And for items that are priced around $100 or less, the best specials might be the week before Christmas. But you'll want to make sure to read the circulars in the holiday papers and look for coupons on the internet before you tear through the stores on those big sale weekends. The fourth tip, avoid impulse shopping and be selective. So once you meet a set budget for each person on your list, be sure to cross them off and be done with it. Avoid adding last-minute impulse items just to make your gift seem more meaningful. I think we all know what it feels like to be in a line at one of your favorite stores and to see all those little cute items they put near the cash register that you just want to grab. But our tip is really to stick with the amount that you've set on your list. And if you've already bought that person a gift, then you can just go ahead and cross them off and move on. The next tip is about self-gifting. I have a statistic for you from the National Retail Federation, which found that 57% of Americans spend almost $127 each holiday season buying gifts for themselves. That's a lot of extra cash. So you can pass on treating yourself this holiday and leave it to your loved ones to buy you gifts during the holiday season. If there's something you desperately want or need, you can reevaluate those purchases post-holidays when the January sales kick in. The sixth tip was go in on a gift. Jeanette mentioned her experience doing this. Like for example, if say your mom wants the newest iPhone and you know that that's going to be an expensive gift, you could get like all of your siblings together. You could all pitch in to buy her that new iPhone. She gets that same result of getting what she really wanted, and you can save a lot of money by making it a joint venture. The seventh tip is setting up a gift exchange. Most likely a lot of us have participated in a gift exchange at some point, either through our workplace or even in our family. Like for example, my family, we have a lot of people, and so we do a gift exchange every year. There's even online websites and things that you can do to help make your gift exchange process a little easier. You input all the family's names and their emails, and it kicks out to you your gift exchange person, anonymously, so no one knows who they're getting or no one knows who has them. So definitely look into that. And then the last tip is about giving priceless gifts. This is like, when you go DIY, do it yourself, and make your gift giving more personal this year. So thinking about what you're good at. Are you a great cook? Could you bake something? Could you knit a scarf? I love things like the cookie exchanges. I find those to be so much fun. These days, Pinterest and even Google are just a wealth of information in terms of thinking about what types of priceless gifts you could give this year. I do want to share a couple other tips that I have in order to have a debt-free holiday. So these are some other suggestions in addition to those 8 tips. The first one is to skip the store and shop online. This way you'll save on gas, parking fees, and childcare, and you can shop anytime, day or night. Be sure to comparison shop. We have 2 deal-oriented websites that we recommend. One is retailmenot.com and the other one is eDealInfo. And we'll go ahead and list those at the end of the webinar, as well as in the follow-up email. And then also, many stores offer free shipping throughout the holidays or on Cyber Monday, which is the day after Thanksgiving. And there's also free shipping day every year. And this year, that date is December 14th. You can go to freeshippingday.com for more info. All right, so the next section is about hidden holiday costs. I have another statistic for you here from the National Retail Federation. So the average spending per shopper this holiday season is expected to reach $796 per person, but not all purchases end up wrapped under a tree. Even consumers who regularly track their expenses may be scratching their heads in January, wondering where all their money went. So there's those hidden costs. So I shared a couple of examples already, like wrapping paper. And I thought this statistic was interesting. This one comes from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, which says that household waste increases 25% to around 1 million tons between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. There's, in addition to wrapping paper, there's also the cost of shipping, holiday travel, and higher electric bill. But there's a couple of other hidden costs. So thinking about the decorations that you purchase every year for the holidays. One tip would be you could participate in an ornament exchange, which I think is a cool idea. Swap your decorations with friends or family, and that way they're new to you, but you didn't have to go out and buy those. Another way that or hidden cost is holiday thanking. The holidays are such a good time to thank the people in our life, like our service providers, like our mail carriers, our trash collectors, our hairdressers, but these gifts can definitely add up quickly. So a tip would be if you do choose to give gift cards, just determine a total amount that you can afford and divide it among the recipients. We think that even a small gift amount could really mean a lot to that person. So you don't have to necessarily overspend in order to have the same result. And then the last hidden cost that I want to mention is social events. So you may be a really big hostess within your friend group or your family, and hosting an event or hosting a party over the holidays can really, the cost can really add up. So we have a tip, which is, and also being a guest at parties can also add up. Our tip is about being a guest. So if you are the kind of person that likes to bring gifts to a friend's house, you could consider buying a case of wine as opposed to going to the store and buying individual bottles of wine every time that you go to a party. And we think that could be a good way to kind of think ahead and be smart during the holidays.
Here are a few resources from NEFI that you can turn to when creating your holiday budget and for planning for the year ahead. Your spending, your savings, your future, also available in Spanish, is available in your handouts. This PDF file aims to help you get on track with your financial goals and make a better life for yourself and your family. The booklet provides practical tips, hands-on worksheets, and real-life stories from people who have been there themselves. The book is divided into 3 sections. 1, your spending, track where your money goes and create a plan for plugging spending leaks. 2, your savings. Think about short and long-term savings. Short-term is creating an emergency fund, and long-term savings is done through investing, such as retirement accounts. And 3, the last section, is your future. Create goals and make a solid plan to get there. Another great resource is the Budget Wizard and the tools drop-down on smartaboutmoney.org. A budget is a spending plan that divides your income to cover your expenses and tracks how closely your actual spending lines up with what you plan to spend. To take control of your money and your financial life, you have to get organized, and the most effective tool for this is a budget. When you create your budget or spending plan, you organize your use of money into spending categories and then set your financial priorities. Budgets can help you meet personal financial goals, become better prepared for money emergencies, and lay the foundation for longer financial planning. Maximizing your money comes down to cash flow, the money flowing into your pockets as income and flowing out as expenses and debt. Budgets are not meant to be a starvation diet for spending. In fact, if your budget is too restrictive, you're less likely to stick with it. It's best to create a budget that balances your desire to reach your goals with your desire to be satisfied with the ride. The Budget Wizard will walk you through the steps of creating a monthly budget. Note, you do need to create a SAM account to use the Budget Wizard.
All right, great. So now it's time to hear from you. Take a moment and reflect on this question. Does your current spending plan ensure that you will have a debt-free holiday season? And you can either type a narrative answer or answer in one of the following choices. Strongly agree, somewhat agree, neither agree nor disagree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. And so when you're answering this question, you can ask yourself, have you considered the hidden costs of the holidays? Do you have a list that you're sticking to? And then you could also consider, do you regularly feel stressed or worried about the holiday season? It looks like quite a spectrum.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are agreeing that their plan will ensure that they will have a debt-free holiday season, but there's a lot of people that are just saying that they won't. Someone said, as long as my husband follows the budget, we'll be fine. Yeah. So it's hard to control other people in your life, so that's a variable that you don't always have within your control. A lot of people are shopping all year in preparation. A lot of folks were sharing information on various types of clubs that they're part of, either through their credit union or through their banking institution where they are saving throughout the year. So I think that's really cool. That seems to be making quite a comeback. People are saying each child only receives 3 gifts for Christmas, which, yeah, that's fair. That's 3 gifts. That's not 1. That's not 2. So that's a good amount. People are saying that they have a plan, taking out $50 per paycheck, which is great. So I think any of these strategies are really useful in order to ensure that you're not going into debt during the holiday season, which is, I think, can put a lot of stress on people as they're going into the holidays and then following up after it, kind of getting out of that debt. So thank you all so much.
What are your financial New Year's resolutions to change money habits? This is the second item on the agenda for us to cover during today's session. We acknowledge that New Year's resolutions are notoriously tough to keep, especially when they relate to your finances. If you're one of the numerous Americans who make financial resolutions at the start of the year only to give them up come February, there are some things you can do to make your goals stick. In the next section, we'll offer some helpful tips to not only help you start off the year right, but also help you keep that same energy going as the year go by. So for our interactive activity, there's a worksheet that says SMART Goals Worksheet in your Webinar 5 handouts. I hope you're able to get that and can find it on the menu. Taking control of your financial life requires planning, and that starts with setting goals. Take a moment to type out some ideas for financial New Year's resolution. Challenge yourself to begin to think in terms of SMART goals. For example, if your goal is to build an emergency savings, a SMART goal would be save $200 per month for the next 12 months. Give me some ideas that you can put and post it on the question section. Other ideas I just want to share. The goals you set should be specific, should have a time frame. For example, your goal might be to save $20 per week during the next year for a vacation. This is a SMART goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So some examples I've seen are buying a computer that might cost $2,000, so setting aside $100 a month for 12 months to come up with $1,200 instead of using a credit card. Other examples could be saving $10,000 over the next 3 years for a house down payment. Retirement goals could be a SMART goal. You can invest at least $1,000 a year in a retirement fund over the next 5 to 10 years. So some ideas that I see: paying off debt to prepare for purchasing a new car, saving money to pay off student loans. My car will be paid off in 6 months. Making 2 extra mortgage payments. Instead of 12 payments, it'll be 14. That's a great idea. Paying off credit cards. So a lot of people have said paying off debt and making a monthly contribution to a retirement account. Great. Great ideas. Thank you.
All right, so next we're going to talk about your financial New Year's resolutions. If you are one of the numerous Americans who make financial resolutions at the start of the year only to give them up come February, you can follow these tips to make sure that your goals stick. The first tip is to know your values. And one resource that we recommend is the Life Values Quiz. We went over this in one of our previous webinars on financial wellness. It is a 20-question quiz, and it's based on academic research and reveals what's behind a person's financial decisions. And we do encourage you to check out this tool and more at smartaboutmoney.org. So understanding your values and attitudes about money will bring clarity to the decision-making process. It will help you identify your values and make financial goals based on those values. So definitely check out that resource and take that the 20-question quiz. The next tip to make your goals stick is to write down your resolutions. So clearly articulate why you think a resolution is a good idea and steps that you can take to reach your financial goal, as well as what you hope to gain. If you put your list somewhere where you can see it each day, studies show that you will have more success in actually reaching that goal. We do recommend that you share your resolutions with family, friends, or someone that you trust. So that could be a domestic violence advocate, or it could be a coworker, or it could be a financial professional, like a financial advisor, or someone that works at your local credit union. Any of those people could be good resources in terms of helping to keep you accountable for the goals that you set at the beginning of the year. And we will talk a little bit more about the role that friends and family and or someone that you trust can play in keeping you accountable in just a moment. Another tip is to monitor your progress. So a lot of you have been typing in different goals, particularly around like paying off debt, around mortgage debt, car payments, saving for retirement. So are you monitoring your progress on doing that? So again, I want to go back to the SMART goal thing, because a lot of us have been typing in goals, but we're not necessarily attaching them to a time frame. So you want to be able to have a time frame for when you would like to achieve that goal, and that will help you monitor your progress. So set aside a couple of hours each week to address your money situation. In terms of goal setting and setting financial New Year's resolutions, many of us wait until we feel the time is right to begin new behaviors. But if we wait till after the big party to start watching our diets, or after that big purchase to start saving money, the ideal time will really never present itself. There's never really a better time than now to start towards your goals. And when you are choosing goals, make sure that the goals that you choose vary in intensity. You don't want all of your goals to be like really big and the long-term type goals, like saving for retirement. You want to have those, but you also want to have some short-term goals, like paying more than the minimum on a credit card this month. That could be a short-term goal. You could be looking at varying the different types of goals that you have. And then lastly, the last tip I'll share is that if you find yourself breaking those financial goals by reverting to old spending habits, go back to those values and really think about what is kind of causing you to go astray. So take time to ask yourself if the decision that you made or the goal that you chose is appropriate for you given your financial situation. So, for example, Jeanette and I, we probably have like completely different goals, but I might hear one of her goals and say, man, I should try that. But if it doesn't really fit into my personal financial situation, it really might not be a realistic or a sustainable goal for me. So when you are choosing your goals, they really do have to make sense given your current financial situation. So, like adapting other people's goals, things like that doesn't really work long term. So really making sure that when you are having a challenge, reaching a goal, that you are taking that time to ask yourself, is that an appropriate goal for me? All right, so as I've mentioned, we know that New Year's resolutions are notoriously tough to keep, especially as they relate to your finances. There's a tip that involves finding a financial buddy. So that this could be, like I said, someone that you trust. It could be a parent, it could be a spouse, a friend, a coworker, an advocate, someone that works at your local credit union. The key thing in terms of choosing who this person may be is to make sure that it's someone that you trust. Money is a very personal matter, and if you are going to have a financial buddy, you will be sharing intimate money details with that person. So you have to make sure that you trust that person and that you're comfortable sharing those types of things. Also, we recommend that you choose someone that will set a good example. So this person doesn't necessarily need to be a money expert, but they do need to share your motivation and readiness to stick to your respective money goals. So, don't choose that person that you already know that they're just like spending money recklessly, or what I mean? That's probably not the right person to choose for your financial buddy. Make sure that it's someone that will understand your resolutions. As I mentioned, you don't have to be working towards the same goals, but you do need your buddy to know your outcomes and be supportive of you. And lastly, choose someone that will help keep you honest. Your buddy should feel that they can call you out if you become distracted or less committed. So that's part of the goal of having a buddy, is them to keep you accountable. So, they can call you out. They have every right to do that in this scenario. So you have to choose someone that you're going to be able to receive that from. All right, and so if you do choose to do something like this, make sure that you start off right. So talk about your behaviors with money. Bring up past successes and failures so that your buddy knows what might make you shine or set you back, and identify what is behind your respective financial decisions. So set goals together. You can think of goals as, for example, will you start investing in your 401k this year? Will you write a will by the end of the year? Will you set up an automatic deposit into your child's college savings fund? Those are all some ideas for goals. Make sure that you're not only setting the goals, but make sure you break it down. So your goals need to be specific and measurable. A lot of you were typing in goals, and I was like responding back, what's your time frame? Because that's a way to make it specific. If you have a goal, set a time frame with it. And I do see some of you doing that now. So it's a good skill to be able to, if you have a goal, to make it a SMART goal in terms of setting a time frame and then knowing how you can measure your own success. Lastly, be realistic about your situation. So keep your own situation in mind and instead of trying to measure up to your buddy and what they want to accomplish. So I touched on that pretty good so far. So once you set all of your goals and you've created a plan, make sure that you check in regularly. You can do it via phone, on Facebook even, or via email, and be in touch with that person for moral support if you are tempted to stray from your plan. And then the last thing is celebrate milestones along the road to your ultimate goals and spend time together outside of your financial lives to kind of keep that relationship going. All right, so let's move on to our next reflection question. I see a lot of really great things coming in via our questions box, and let's keep that going. So in thinking about goals, now that you've heard a little more about how to create them, how to make sure that they're SMART goals, tell me, do your current savings and spending habits limit your New Year's resolutions or help you achieve them? So remember that it's important not only to have goals, but they need to work for you. So as you're thinking about your New Year's resolutions, think about whether or not your current savings and spending habits either limit your New Year's resolutions or help you achieve them. And tell us why. I'm seeing some really great specific measurable goals coming in around New Year's resolutions, talking about saving in terms of purchasing their first home, which is awesome, paying off credit cards, and then also joining a Christmas club account through their credit union. I will mention that in the webinar 5 handouts, which is one of your handouts that we provided, we will also be sending those to you via email, the follow-up email. There is a SMART goals worksheet. So if you're just not sure as far as how to actually start writing out goals, that's a really helpful worksheet. All right, let's see if I'll read out a couple more answers just to get a good sense of how our audience is doing with this content. So I'm seeing a lot of goals, and oh, someone said my current spending habits help me achieve my goals. It's amazing how quickly small extra payments can help with debt reduction. I totally agree. Once you start making a priority of reducing your debt, you will realize that it's a very gratifying process and does help you achieve your goals. My current spending habits are helping me achieve my financial goals because I'm limiting myself for certain, and I've learned to not make impulsive purchases. That's great. That's huge. And I think it's a practice. I feel in my own experience, I kind of go up and down. I'll have like a year go by, I'll be really strong, and then I'll somehow go back to my overspending impulsive habits. So, but knowing how to go back and, you know, fall back on those healthy habits, I think can be a really powerful practice. So, but you first have to experience what it's like to have those healthy spending habits in order to go back to them and lean on them. All right, we can go ahead and move on. Our next question for you all, for our webinar audience, is around support. So how supported do you feel in reaching your goals for the new year? We have a variety of choices. The choices are very supported. I am actively working on building a stronger network. It's a work in progress. I'm not sure who to reach out to within my network, and I have a long way to go. So as you're thinking through this question, you could ask yourself, could I be working with a financial coach or a financial professional if I do not have anyone in my network that I trust? This was actually something that I personally did a number of years ago. I worked with a financial coach, and this was someone that worked at a local credit union. I did not pay them for their services. They were simply available to me through the credit union. And I found this to be so helpful, to talk to someone who was knowledgeable about finances and who could actually look at my numbers, look at my accounts and make recommendations based on what they saw. So this is something I definitely recommend, and that helped me so much. So if you are one of those people that's saying, I don't know who to reach out to in my network, I would really recommend going into a credit union in your community and seeing if there is someone that would be willing to sit down with you and look at your numbers. And then also, another question you could ask yourself, would I be able to consider a coworker that can offer support, or who I can offer my support to? Money is not always the easiest topic to talk about, but it can be really helpful to connect with people who may be in a similar financial situation to you or who you can trust. So I'm seeing a variety of answers, from very supportive. My daughter is my biggest cheerleader and holds me accountable. That's really cool. I love to see that, those good money values passing down through the generations. And I think those are really powerful relationships to have. A lot of others are actively working by studying life coaching skills or working with a financial coach. That's really great. Talking to my partner has been helpful. A lot of folks are expressing that they do not feel supported, even in their own interpersonal relationships. So, figuring out money in your own relationship is definitely not an easy thing. So I think oftentimes if you do enlist some kind of a professional to kind of guide you and to make sure that you're getting information that's that comes from a basis of knowledge, I think that can be very helpful in a relationship. So if that's something you're curious about, I definitely recommend it. All right, we can move on.
Now that we've taken some time to learn about planning for the holidays, controlling your spending during this time of year, and creating some resolutions for the upcoming year, let's take some time to talk about our goals for 2019. Perhaps you like to take a vacation next summer. Maybe you hope to go back to school in the next 5 years. Whatever your goals might be, you have a better chance of achieving them if you write them down. As you list your goals, divide them into 3 categories: short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Years ago, I put a goal up before moving to Colorado. It took me 8 months to save for this big move, but I put that goal up in my mirror in my bathroom so I saw it every day. So short-term goals might include buying a new computer or paying off credit card debt. Medium-term goals could be purchasing a car or going back to school. Long-term goals might include buying a home or retiring with enough money to live comfortably. Use the SMART Goals worksheet in your Webinar 5 handouts to help you brainstorm. The next section focuses on resources to help you achieve your goals. In this activity, let's take time to reflect on your current income and earnings. Take a moment to type out some words or phrases that help you or hold you back from earning a sufficient income. Make sure you include at least one thing holding you back. And later, you can address these items in your career goals and earning plan. While you're reflecting, let's take a moment to address your self-talk. The way you talk to yourself can affect your confidence when seeking career advancement or a new career trajectory. Using positive inner language can help with your self-talk. You might not totally eliminate it, but there are ways to tone down negative self-talk. Here are 3 tips to improve your self-talk. 1, if a friend were expressing these thoughts, what advice would you give them? Sometimes it helps to write your self-talk down or speak it out loud so that you can observe your thoughts more objectively. 2, combat negative thoughts with positive responses. For example, each time you notice yourself having a certain thought, such as "I'll never finish my training for this job," you might think, "I'll take things one step at a time and reevaluate my training in 6 months." Last, the way your friends and family speak to you also can influence your career. Consider pressures family puts on you to have a certain career or maintain a certain lifestyle. Do the words or action close to you help you? What, if anything, can you do to get your family to support your career choices? So some of the answers I found are patience, focus, determination, dedication. I'm dedicated to doing my best and go the extra mile. Others have shared, I love my job, but earning potential is very limited. Great. Thank you. Our next resource we mentioned throughout the webinar already is SMART SAM, which stands for Smart About Money, but it also stands for the following. S, size up your situation. A, analyze your circumstances. And M, make a plan. SAM is NEFI's consumer-focused website providing American adults with action-oriented e-learning courses on foundational financial concepts. There are 7 in-depth courses that are about 45 minutes if you complete it in one sitting. There are also 5 money basic courses that cover foundational financial concepts, including a course called Spending and Savings Basics. You can go at your own pace and can access them anytime as long as you have an internet connection. The site is mobile friendly, so you can access it on your cell phone or tablet. You can register for an account, but it's not necessary. The benefits of registration allows you to save your budgets and bookmark specific web pages you may want to return. When you size up your situation, Sam prompts you to think about your situation. What is your income? What are you spending money on? Do you have spending leaks? Look at and complete the Spending Detective worksheet and budget worksheet available in the Webinar 5 handouts within the course. Do you have an emergency fund? Do you understand the difference between needs and wants? When you analyze your circumstances, you will need to think about other circumstances, your circumstances, to determine your specific needs. Does your current saving and spending limit your goals or help you achieve them? How do you define success? Many of these questions you have already begun to explore on today's webinar. Make a plan. This is where you take action. Set intentional goals to improve your spending and savings. Make a budget and stick to it. Celebrate successes. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So let's wrap it up by referencing you all to some awesome money management resources, which are all sponsored by nonprofit organizations. All the websites will be included in a follow-up email to go out 24 hours after the end of this session. One is my organization, the National Endowment for Financial Education, at www.nefi.org. Financial Workshop Kits is a great resource for advocates, those who are teaching or volunteering on teaching money skills. All those resources are free. And sign up for the quarterly free newsletter 4 times a year at that bit.ly link that you see, the second website on the screen. Smart About Money, we mentioned it throughout the webinar. And myretirementpaycheck.org. This is a website we'll be going more in depth for our next webinar in December. We mentioned other retail sites like Retail Me Not, eDeal Info, and Free Shipping Day. Take a look at that as you start planning for your holidays.
All right, the last resource that we wanted to shout out on this webinar comes from the Institute for Women's Policy Research and their Economic Security for Survivors project. So they are very excited to share 3 publications during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. They have state fact sheets on basic economic security. They also have a briefing paper on understanding the costs of sexual harassment and assault at work. And then thirdly, a survey report on the economic effects of intimate partner violence. So some of you who may have joined us at the NCADV conference, you did hear from the Institute for Women's Policy Research and the NEFI and NCADV panel on economic justice. So that survey is now out. We're so excited. It's called Dreams Deferred, a survey on the impact of intimate partner violence on survivors' education, careers, and economic security. So this report examines the educational, economic, and employment effects of intimate partner violence on survivors and the resource needs that these effects create. So the survey was conducted with 164 survivors in shelters, transitional housing programs, and other domestic violence programs in 11 states and DC. And the report considers how these survivors experience the economic consequences of abuse, the tactics their abusers use to foster economic dependence and insecurity, and the forms of assistance that survivors need and find most helpful in addressing the financial impact of intimate partner violence. So I recommend going to iwpr.org to find, and I'm also going to link the survey in your follow-up email. I think this is some really compelling information, and as advocates and also as survivors, as we are really thinking about the economic impact of abuse on our communities, I think this research can be really helpful in terms of really understanding what that looks like and knowing really what is the real cost of intimate partner violence. Really good info. So go ahead and check out those sites, and we'll be sure to link those in the follow-up email as well. All right, I want to do a quick shout out for our final webinar. So webinar 6 in our series of 6 webinars that are free offered by NEFI and NCADV. The last one is called Retirement Planning for Survivors and Advocates, and that's going to be on December 5th. So that's our last one of the year. So please be sure to join us. To remind you, you will receive a follow-up email tomorrow, which will contain a link to the recording of the webinar, as well as links to the handouts and a certificate of participation. You can also go ahead and view older webinars on the NCADV website. So ncadv.org/financial-education. I'm going to put that link into the chat box. Otherwise, just go to ncadv.org and type in financial education. It'll get you to the page. And all of our previous webinars are available on our YouTube channel, but go ahead to our website to go and find those. Good questions. Thank you. And then the last thing I will say before we close out for today, we would really appreciate it if you would add your feedback in our 5-question survey, which is going to automatically pop up at the end of the webinar or as soon as you close out. So when you press leave webinar, that survey is going to pop up for you. Take a couple minutes and fill out that survey, and we really appreciate your feedback. So thank you all so much for all of your active participation on today's webinar. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you have a wonderful afternoon.